morning, wherever you may be in the world today. We are going to discuss today the evolution of organisations. Personally, I love reading history because I think you can learn great lessons from the past. Unfortunately, we kind of tend to continue to follow the same mistakes now and again. But we're going to look at the history of organisation, or the evolution of organisations, to understand where we need to go in the future. And I think that there's already massive change happening. You know, certainly in the corporate world, I kind of look at corporate world like Formula One. Formula One develops the car, and then of course, you know, the cars on the road tend to follow that. And the same with the corporate organisations, the SMEs eventually follow that. So there is big changes at foot. So really interested in this morning, and I'm going to ask George to virtually start straight away and take us through the evolution of organisations and where we might need to be now and in the future. So George, without any further ado, over to yourself.
Thanks, Derek. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to join us again. So this morning, Derek and Duncan, we're going to be going on a journey. I'm going to be taking everybody on a journey this morning over 100,000 years. So it's quite a long journey, but we're going to try and do it in like 40 minutes. So I would ask everyone to kind of try and follow me as we go through this journey to see how did we get to, you know, as Derek says, he's interested in history. I'm interested in history as well. I think it's something you get interested in as we get older. And the other thing is, as people who've been on this webinar for the last few weeks know, is that I'm massively interested in people, right? And I tell everybody we're in the people business, and it's about how we get the best out of our people. And if we can do that, we'll have great businesses and all be a lot happier, and so on and so on. And the way in which our organisations have been designed have a massive impact on those outcomes. So I'm going to take us through it this morning, try and follow along with me, and I'm going to start off. You know, it's always been kind of in my mind that, you know, I've always asked questions like, how can we create more soulful workplaces or schools or hospitals? And people say, well, you know, the problem with that, George, is that people are people and we've got egos and we like to play politics and we like to blame one another and criticise and spread rumours. And I understand that, right? But we've all experienced peak moments of teamwork, right? Everyone is in their career at some point where achievements just come seamlessly. They come, it's a joyful experience. You know, you're in the zone, or as Derek and I would call it, you're in flow. Time flows so quickly, and it's a really enjoyable experience. And it's always been part of my leadership style to try and create that in the workplace. One other thing before we get started, I'd just like to say that, you know, you may hear me use the word paradigm a few times today, because the way our organisations have evolved depends on our paradigm as humans. Now, paradigm, for anyone who doesn't know, is just another word it's describing how you view your world. So a paradigm is simply how you view your world. And one of the things that's happened throughout history, folks, is that every time human beings have raised our awareness or become more aware of the world around us, or have stepped up a level of consciousness, or whatever way you want to put it, we have developed new organisational structures and systems. And I want to take you through those today. So we start 100,000 years ago. We started with a paradigm which was known as, I'm going to use colours to describe these paradigms so that we can try and distinguish between them. So 100,000 years ago, which is a long time ago, the paradigm that we had as human beings was what business psychologists would call an infrared paradigm. This is when we lived in small family kinships. There was only 20 to 40 people. And amazingly, as part of my research, I discovered that at that point in time, our ego as human beings had not really fully formed. We never really identified ourselves as being separate from the group. Death wasn't something which was particularly real. And with no ego. It's the infrared paradigm. I'm not going to spend too much on it because even Derek cannot remember that far back, right? And then about 10,000 years ago, folks, we moved to what we would call the red paradigm. Now, the red paradigm was our first major step up. It was the first time that chiefdoms came into being, proto-empires, and the very first forms of organizational life started. The ego, our sense of self and who we are, had hatched by this time. It's a frightening place, the world, because death is real now, right? We understand that it's about us, and death is very real. At this time, people are not aware, or they don't really care about other people's feelings, and your orientation is just to the present. I want it, and I want it now, so I'm going to take it. And if I'm more powerful than you, I'm going to take it. So power was the currency of these red organizations as we go back 10,000 years. And this is when we first started seeing conquering armies and things like that run about the earth, and anybody who speaks about it. But it's really interesting. And as I speak about these paradigms today and the different colours that's associated to each one, it's important for you to know, I'm not trying to say that any one is better than any other one. And each paradigm has its sweet spot in terms of where we are as a species, as where we are in our evolution as a species. And the red paradigm is still very, very much, you can see it today. And you can see it today in street gangs and mafias. They still operate from that red paradigm, right? I want it, I'm going to take it. If you get my way, I'm going to kill you. What the red paradigm organizations of today do, though, is they do borrow some from modernity in terms of technology, for example, but they still fundamentally operate from that red paradigm. Now we're going to move forward a little bit now to things we may start to recognize. That red paradigm was in place for about 6,000 years. It was the primary paradigm around the world. And then we moved into something called amber, or what we would call as conformist amber. Now, conformist amber started, Derek, like 4,000 years ago. And every paradigm shift that we've ever had that's come along, every time we've had a paradigm shift, we've been able to make a huge leap organizationally. And when amber came along 4,000 years ago, humankind made fantastic leaps. We went from a world subsisting on horticulture to the age of agriculture, to states, to civilizations, institutions, bureaucracies, so on and so forth. It really started back in Mesopotamia 4,000 years ago. And for the first time, cause and effect were understood. We had evolved as human beings to be able to understand cause and effect. And it's really interesting because as I describe this paradigm as we go on, this amber organizations, there's still many amber organizations in the world today. The paradigm's nearly 4,000 years old. And of course it's evolved, but we still have amber organizations in the world today. If you look at what amber, because we understand cause and effect, because we've evolved a little bit and we understand, linear time. So now as we move into this stage, we can understand that there's a past, there's a present, and there's a future. And we know that if we want next year's harvest to be good, we need to keep the seeds from this year's harvest. That was a major step forward for us as human beings as we started going through our evolutionary journey. The thing about amber is that people at that stage start to internalize the group norms and the group thinking. So it's my way or your way on a red paradigm. So we either do it my way or we do it your way. And if you don't do it my way, I'm going to kill you or I'm going to take what you have anyway. And the amber paradigm brought about us and them. And you can still see it today in amber organizations. Amber organizations are always full of silos, right? And there's an us and them. Red previously did not have the self-control and the self-discipline to move forward to the planning, to strategizing. That's where amber came into its own. Amber societies and amber organizations have a simple model, which is based that there is one accepted way of doing things. If you do what's right, you will be rewarded. You may get promoted. If you do what's wrong, you will be punished. You may be ejected from the group. And people who are part of amber organizations, you'll see in a second why being part of that group is so important. So amber brought in much more, started to bring in more subtle ways to control people and to discipline people. If you internalize the rules and you follow the rules and you follow our one way of doing things, you're going to be great. If you don't, it's not going to work out so well for you. One of the things that Amber done as well is that they started to help us to bring some scale. And the reason that they started to help us to bring some scale is because they started to place, it wasn't about the person anymore. It wasn't about the chief. It was about the title. And Amber organisations brought us titles, and they brought us the organisational charts that you'll still see today. Go into just about any business today, and I'll guarantee you'll see an organisational chart which is shaped like a pyramid. It's got the boss at the top. They've got 3 or 4 direct reports. Underneath them, there's 3 or 4 direct reports each, whatever. It shapes down like a pyramid. And the Amber Eagle folks seeks order and stability and predictability. So Amber organisations are about order, stability, and predictability. And as we go through this, maybe you'll be able to recognise some organisations you've worked for in the past. Maybe you'll recognise some organisations you work for just now. Or for the business owners out there and the leaders out there, maybe you'll recognise some things in your own organisation. The big challenge, one of the big challenges about Amber, we made some great breakthroughs, but one of the big challenges about Amber was that we were still very, very limited as human beings. It depended on our caste, which could be as simple as your surname, or it depended on what kind of family you were born into. And if you look at arguably the defining Amber organisation in the Western world is the Catholic Church. It's built on Amber paradigms, and it still operates on Amber paradigms today. Even though it's evolved somewhat, it still operates in the same paradigm that's been there for a few thousand years now. One of the things that Amber organisations did is we planned for the medium and long term. So create these organisational structures and create planning. You're now limited in terms of people who can get the job, but it's not about that individual person, as I said a second ago. So it's about whoever's wearing the priest's robe. So whoever's wearing that priest's robe, they've got the authority. It's not so much the individual, and if something happens or they pass on or whatever happens, they can be replaced. And that position as a priest is still in the organisation. Part of the problem comes from, in terms of for the vast majority of human beings, if you came from the peasantry, you could only go and become a priest. It was only people who came from members of the aristocracy who were able to be the bishops or the cardinals and so on and so forth. So whilst the Amber paradigm brought us a lot of breakthroughs, brought us planning for the future, stability, control, organisational structures as we see it today, positions instead of individuals, there's still some drawbacks with that Amber paradigm. The first breakthrough that Amber had was long-term perspective and stable processes. We spoke a little bit about it. The other thing is that Amber organisations view change with suspicion. They don't like change. And if you think about it today, and I know Derek and I had a lot of conversations about change and over the years, and Derek and I work with leaders driving change, and it's a really difficult thing to do. It's kind of been built into us since Amber organisations came along. Change is not something which is looked for, which is driven for, or we want much to do with. We've got our one way of doing things. We know if we follow that, everything will be good. That's an Amber paradigm. The other thing about Amber paradigms is that they find that they're ill at ease with competition, strive for absolute dominance and monopoly. Sound familiar? As they bring in the formal titles that we spoke about before, we spoke about the church and how they brought it in, and probably the first organisations start to evolve. And the first organisation we really had was the East India Company. East India Company was also based on that Amber paradigm. And one of the big things about the Amber paradigm, folks, is that the planning and execution separated. So it's at the top for doing the thinking and the planning, and it's at the bottom for the doing. So those at the bottom just do as you're told and do as we ask you, and we'll all be good. But we don't want people to think too much. We don't want too much of your input. We'll do the thinking at the top. As you look at some of the subtle changes that we brought in Amber as well, we started bringing in some disciplinary ways, and we still see it today, right? You're not going to get killed anymore, or it's highly unlikely. But you turn up late for your work, you are going to get docked your wages, right? And if you turn up late consistently for your work, yeah, we're going to have another conversation. You could be suspended or lose your job or whatever. Those amber organisations, that amber paradigm brought those in nearly 4,000 years ago. The underlying worldview that conformist amber has is that workers are mostly lazy, they are sometimes dishonest, and they must be supervised. Now, I've come across some of that attitude a lot in my life, right, as well. So think about that paradigm's been in place for thousands of years. Workers are mostly lazy, sometimes dishonest, they need direction, they must be supervised. And anybody who went to, management school and stuff understands McGregor's theory X and theory Y, right? The other thing that Amber done is that Amber brought us this stability for the first time. It really was a massive step forward in terms of how we evolved as humans, folks, right? From the infrared and the red paradigms to bringing order and social order and stability. And for the first time, we've seen something, Derek, that I know is one of your favourite subjects, and we've seen the introduction of social masks. The cost that we paid as a species for order and stability and predictability in our world was that we all had to wear a social mask. So what does that mean? Well, Amber invented organisational titles. They invented the organisational pyramid. A bishop's robes show that he is no mere priest, right? The owner of a business dressed very differently from the people who work in the shop floor. The accountants dress differently from the engineers. And as we put our clothes on, folks, and we go into work, we put our social professional mask on as well. And we don't really bring all of ourselves to work. Still very much prevalent in the world today. There's very, very few people in the work who go to work and don't wear a mask. And I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing, but that was part of the Amber paradigm and the price that we paid.
Everyone wears a mask, George. I'm not talking COVID-19. Everyone wears a mask. And part of our job as coaches, of course, is to help people recognise their mask and take that off. Or stop putting a mask on. So, yeah, even today, very prevalent for sure.
You're exactly right, Derek. And you and I have spoken before, right? And listen, I'm someone who prides himself on that I never wore a mask very often in my professional career. I've always just been myself. But having said that, I have worn a mask many, many, many times, right? So even someone me who's aware of it, who tries not to wear that mask, we all wear the mask, folks, right? We all have certain expectations that we're supposed to conform to based on our social standing, based on our role, and so on and so forth. Conformist Amber brought all of that in. And the us versus them is a big thing in Amber. So listen, you've all seen it in your organisations, right? You'll see it in hospitals, nurses versus doctors. They'll bitch and moan about one another, right? Finance will complain about market, and market will complain about finance. The line workers will complain about the staff. It's us versus them. But if you think there's a gap in our Amber organisations between the departments, there's a moat between the Amber organisation and the outside world. So it's you're either one of us or you're one of them, right? And you choose your camp. And if you choose to be one of us, you choose all of us, and we're going to take care of everything. And if you go back, Derek, and you look at, the first car factories that came out, for instance, they had their own rubber plantations. They made their own rubber. They had their own steel mills. They made their own steel. They operated their own bakeries, and they provided social housing, and people's lives revolved entirely around the workplace. Now, Derek, you and I have both spent a little bit of time in China, right? And we can see that there's still this Amber paradigm going on there, because you go to some of these large factories in China, what will you see? You'll see that people live on there. There's a social housing provided. You'll see that they provide entertainment schedules and calendars that different groups take part in. Their whole life revolves around the organisation. It really helps create the us and them. Okay, so that's conformist Amber. The conformist Amber organisations of history, the church, Dutch East India Company, absolutely. But still today, conformist amber, you can see it in the military, you can see it in our public school system, you can see it in the church. Where else do you see it? You see it in government. They all still run on this conformist amber paradigm for the most part. Okay, so what happened after conformist amber? Now, here's an interesting thing for you, Derek, right? Is that from 100,000 years ago up until 250 years ago, we had three distinct paradigms as human beings. We had evolved, our evolution had taken us on three distinct jumps, from infrared to red to conformist amber. Conformist amber really shot the whole world forward. Conformist amber, as I say, is still in place today. However, a new paradigm started to come into play around 250 years ago, Derek. And we're going to call that paradigm achievement orange. So this is achievement orange paradigm. Started 250 years ago, and it really started with the Age of Enlightenment, the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution. And it started really when you had, certain people who were poking holes of certainty into that amber world of Christian certainties. And we had artists, for example, who were asking questions through their art. We had scientists who were asking questions, and I'm sure everybody knows the history of how we struggled to get some of the science through. This is when achievement orange paradigm came in. So as human beings, we had started to evolve again, and this is when our achievement orange paradigm came in. Achievement orange says there is no absolute right and wrong. There's no right and wrong. It's not all black and white. The universe is not governed by immutable rules, no right and wrong, but clearly some things work better than others. And we should try the things which work better than others. And effectiveness really replaced morals, Derek, as a yardstick in terms of how we made our decisions in the workplace. After the Second World War, a significant, much more significant percentage of the population in the Western world shifted to achievement orange paradigm. And today, achievement orange is still the dominant worldview of most leaders in business and in politics. So let me take you through achievement orange, and maybe you'll recognize some of it. So what achievement orange done for the first time, and we should speak about what it's done for us, because it opened the floodgates of scientific investigation. It opened the floodgates for innovation. It opened the floodgates for entrepreneurship. In just over 2 centuries, Derek, which is the blink of an eye in the history of our species and evolution of our species, we brought unprecedented levels of prosperity to the world. We've added a few decades to our life expectancy. We've done away with famine and plague in the industrialized world. And we've been working on repeating that magic at a rapid pace in the developing world ever since. Achievement orange says it's okay to bring a healthy dose of skepticism, and you can ask questions, and you can question the status quo. So it helped us to break free from some of the thoughts or behaviours which conformist amber had imposed on us, and also some of the what would have been imposed on us from depending what gender we were born with or what social class we were born into. So think about it this way: red was an egocentric. I want it, I'm going to take it. Amber was ethnocentric, and orange wanted to bring to the world a world-centric perspective. So orange's perspective, the orange paradigm, achievement orange paradigm, is very much based on the fact that people should be free to pursue their goals in life, and the best in the field should make it to the top, right? You will recognize that kind of paradigm. It does not fully deconstruct amber though, right? Because we still need to wear the mask, Derek. So our need to be successful, to be socially successful, makes us ready to adopt whatever masks we need to adopt to do so. And what achievement orange brought along is that, we strive for bigger houses or bigger cars, or join some exclusive clubs, or send our children to private school. And something very interesting which I've experienced in my life is that People in the achievement orange paradigm are often skeptical of religion, but will absolutely retain an affiliation to it if they believe it's socially beneficial to do so. I don't have time this morning to go into it, Derek, but I've seen this with my own eyes, and it's extremely prevalent, much more so in North America than the UK, I would say. The worldview of achievement orange, is materialistic. We want things. We work hard. We do a good job. We get promoted. We can buy more things. We live our lives on achieving the next goal, the next promotion, finding our next partner, buying a new house, buying a new car. And sometimes we get so consumed by future things, folks, that we kind of forget the gifts of freedom which Achievement Orange brought to us. And Achievement Orange did bring a lot of freedoms to us. So think about it this way. Street gangs today and the mafia kind of thing, they operate from a red paradigm. If you look at the church and the military, they're amber. If you want to look at modern organizations, Walmart, Nike, Coca-Cola, all three absolutely square in the center, Achievement Orange organizations. Right. Achievement Orange had a couple of breakthroughs. Amber brought us, organization and scale. Orange brought us innovation, folks, right? Orange organizations invented departments that we'd never had before. R&D, research and development, marketing, product and program management. These were all titles and departments that never existed under conformist Amber. They only come into being, pardon me, some of them in the last 50 years, right? So think of it this way, Amber orgs are entirely process-driven. Orange organizations are process and project-driven. So they retain the pyramid that Amber put in place, but they drill some holes in it. We have project teams, we have cross-functional teams, we have matrix organizations. I don't know if anybody's ever worked in a matrix organization. I certainly have. It can be interesting. We get cross-functional initiatives, so on and so on. So that was the first breakthrough that brought us, was innovation and how we get that. And the second breakthrough that Orange brought to us, Derek, was accountability. It's a very subtle but a profound change. So Amber, the church, government organizations, Dutch East India Company, the first organizations, was about command and control. We're going to command and control everything. Orange, folks, became about predict and control. So innovate more, innovate faster. It gives us a competitive advantage to tap into the intelligence of many brains. And anybody who's listened to me before has heard me saying that a million times. None of us are as smart as all of us. Well, that Achievement Orange paradigm recognized that and started looking to tap into that greater intelligence. And when we speak about predict and control, so what happened is predict and control then brought in management by objectives. Management by objectives was brought to us by Achievement Orange paradigm organizations. The top management formulates an overall direction, and the cascade down the objectives and milestones. They don't care so much about how they're met, Derek, as long as they are met, which can bring some issues, right, sometimes. But this attitude, it allows people to bring something of themselves to the workplace. It is far more fulfilling for people going to work to be able to bring a little bit of creativity, to get a little bit of freedom in how to do the job. And it was Achievement Orange paradigm that brought it to us, as they bring in a whole load of management processes as well, which is the predicting part, and a whole lot of following up, which is the control. So strategic planning, yearly budgeting, KPIs, performance indicators, balanced scorecards, etc., all inventions of Achievement Orange organizations.
What I find fascinating, George, I'm loving your speech, but what I find fascinating is that we had to go through red and amber to get to orange. We couldn't have got to orange without experiencing red and amber, and especially, as you say, as the ego developed, as the consciousness developed, we started to see these shift changes in organisational structure. It's quite It's quite fascinating. It's also fascinating that I wonder how many SME business owners out there listen to the call, recognise their management style or their culture still being immersed in red or amber.
Yeah, it's a big thing for
orange, but they're still immersed in some of that. It's very interesting.
I would encourage all of the SME business owners on here today, Derek. I would encourage you all folks to think about what kind of paradigm your organisation is, what kind of organisation you have, and what kind of organisation you're looking for. So let me push on, Derek, because I've got a bit to try and get through. But to make it very simple, Amber relied on the stick, but Orange came up with carrots for us. And we've seen a lot of things that they brought in as well, like, incentives, bonuses, stock options, different things that can incentivize, that would give us some carrots. So Amber brought the stick. Do as you're told. There's one way of doing things. Wallop. Achievement Orange says, wait a minute, let's give people a little bit more freedom and let's give them some incentives. Massive breakthroughs. I mean, small words, but massive breakthroughs. Okay, the third and maybe the greatest breakthrough for me for Achievement Orange is meritocracy. Now, just think about that for a second. Meritocracy could never have been something that that was born under Amber, right? And what it says is that in principle, anyone can move up the ladder, Derek. No one is predestined to stay in his or her position, so that the mailroom boy can become the CEO, even if that boy is a girl, Derek, or even if that girl has a minority background. So what we've done, what Achievement Orange done for us is they dramatically widened the talent pool that was able to choose from. Really smart. They gave us a lot of breakthroughs. However, as with every paradigm, the bigger the paradigm, the more light it shines, it creates some shadows as well. And if we look at Achievement Orange today and some of the shadows it brings, much of what it goes after growth. When we pursue growth for growth's sake in a planet which has finite resources, it can only end one way. When we have in the last decade, we've seen some of the big corporate scandals, Derek. I know you've got a term you like to use, which is conscious capitalism. We haven't seen much. We see a lot of corporate greed in Amber, right? We see small circles of CEOs who grant themselves huge pay rises, stock options, bonuses. They lobby the government for favourable rules. They pay little or no taxes. And for sure it comes with some shadows, right? However, it should never eclipse the enormous liberation that Achievement Orange brought to us. Okay, we're going to move forward, Derek, and we're going to move. So what's after Achievement Orange, which is today? Well, where we go next is pluralistic green. So we're going from Achievement Orange into green. Green is highly sensitive to people's orange. Incidentally, what I should say is that Achievement Orange still today is absolute majority of all organisations in the world today operate from Achievement Orange and general rules.
I'm thinking, George, shareholders, short-term decision makers based on shareholders. That typifies Orange.
It does. You're going to love where this is going, Derek. So pluralistic green comes in, Derek, right? Pluralistic green is pretty new, maybe 30, 40 years. So think about this. It took us almost 100,000 years minus 250 to go through the first three paradigms. We're going to go through another 3 in 250 years, which shows us how we're accelerating in our evolution and the way we think, Derek, and our paradigms and how we view the world. So Orange seeks fairness and harmony and equality. And Orange says this, that everyone's perspective deserves equal respect. Green says this, that everyone's perspective deserves equal respect. I've worked in an organisation which could be described as green. If you look at some green organisations, Southwest Airlines, for example, is famous for being that their employees are empowered to seek creative solutions to problems. They don't need to go ask their bosses. They don't need to ask anyone permission. They're empowered to do it there and then. Orange, Achievement Orange, glorifies decisive leaders. Pluralistic green, Derek, says leaders should be servant leaders. Leaders' role is to listen to their workers and empower them and motivate them and develop them. Now, I don't like the term servant leadership, but anyone who's heard me talk has heard me say 100 times. As a leader, it's not about what everyone can do for you, it's what you can do for everyone else. That is basically a description of servant leadership. We just need to come up with a better way of describing it. Managers are evaluated now on 360-degree feedback. Now imagine that in the church. Imagine cardinals being 360-degree feedback from priests. I just want to think of some of these breakthroughs we've made, right? And I love the 360-degree feedback. Green so that was Green's first breakthrough, was empowerment. The second breakthrough was for Green is that it's a values-driven culture and it's based on purpose. Wow. So a strong shared culture is the glue that holds the Green together. And you know, it's interesting because some people have become disillusioned with shared values and mission statements and stuff. Me primarily, it's because orange organisations, you're great, right? But they always feel the need to follow the latest fad, and they go and they put up these mission statements and values and they put them on a wall or they put them on their website. But listen, you need a green paradigm to make it work, right? You got to live and breathe them. If you're orange, you're going to have to shift into green to make those things work. Green organisations put inspirational purpose at what they do. If you look at somebody again like Southwest Airlines are not in the travel business. Go and speak to anybody, the baggage handler for them. They're in the freedom business. They give people freedom. So Green brought along, Derek, this purpose, which I know we like to speak about, and empowerment, and brought that to the fore. Green drives, you know, HR is a big thing in Green, and Green's about how we get the best out of all the people, and it's about pushing all of those decisions down. As many decisions as possible should not take place at the top, but they should take place at the bottom of the organisation. The people who are actually doing the work should do it. Everyone's view should be listened to. We want peace and harmony. And what we're after is a great culture where everybody feels valued and everybody can contribute. And we believe if we're in Green doing that, we're going to get great results. Third breakthrough of Green, Derek, and you were mentioning it a minute ago, multiple stakeholder perspective. Listen, folks, here's the way it works out in the real world, right? Shareholders are the number one priority for most businesses on the planet. And they'll tell you openly, because it's in their articles of constitution, our number one priority is our shareholders. That's a very much an achievement orange paradigm, Derek. Green says, Derek, you'll like this, Green says, no, wait a minute here, right? There should be no hierarchy among stakeholders. They should all be treated, all stakeholders we should be given back to all. So not only shareholders, but management, employees, customers, suppliers, local communities, and society at large. Are you recognizing some businesses that are doing some of those things? Every large organization in the world today has to do this corporate social responsibility report. Achievement Orange, Derek, sees that as a bit of a pain in the backside, something they have to do, right? Pluralistic Green sees that as an absolute integral way to do business and making sure that everyone's taken care of, including the environment and so on. Achievement Orange views its organisation as a machine. Green views its organisation as a family, and you'll often hear people, CEOs of green organisations, talking about their family, this and that. Sometimes, if it's a little bit forced, it can feel a little bit uncomfortable to me. But Green believes the true genius of organisations is they can lift people up and punch above their weight. Now, so we went from Achievement Orange, we went to Green. Derek, there's a new paradigm which has emerged in like the last 10 years or so. And it's
Hey George, can I just clarify first of all for everyone on the call? So what I heard you say was, just correct me if I'm wrong. So from an orange perspective, as an individual, it went from how can I intentionally better myself, which is a great question to ask. How can I intentionally better myself? You're stuck in an orange as an individual. To green, which is more what I heard you say was, so the question now is how can we intentionally better each other, our society and the planet? Is that? I guess it's went from the sort of what do we need to do so that people are compliant towards performance in orange, to who do we need to be so that we can get people's commitment and contribution and greater value. Is that what you were saying? Is that the kind of...
Exactly, Derek. Exactly what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying, buddy.
And there's another one.
So last one, teal, folks, right? So we've started to move to teal. Listen, we've been going through a step change in our consciousness. It's been going on for a while now. We see it with millennials and stuff like that, right? And people always complain about, millennials and these women millennials, and they don't have this and they don't have that, and they've no loyalty, and they don't stick with it, and so on. We've already been going through this step change. Everything that's happened with COVID is just going to accelerate it, Derek. So let's speak quickly about green, because Orange sees the organisation as a machine. Green sees it as a family. Teal organisations see it as a living system, that the organisation is a living system. And bear with me here. So the order's reversed. We don't pursue recognition, success and wealth to live a good life. What Teal says is that if we pursue a life well lived, the consequences might just be success and wealth and recognition and love. And it actually corresponds to Maslow's second last level, which was self-actualization. So it's amazing to me how that still fits in, Derek. Every conscious step so far from infrared up until green has been labelled first tier consciousness. And they reckon that teal is the beginning of our second stage tier consciousness. It'll be real interesting to see where it goes to, Derek. There's some large teal companies out there just now in the world who are doing really well, with 40, 50,000 employees. There's a famous one in the Netherlands called Buurtzorg, whose results have just blown the competition away. It's phenomenal results. And there is also organisations out there, Derek, who have tried the teal methodology, but they've went back to a traditional achievement orange with little flashes of green through it. So
there's a lot of SMEs out there stuck in amber, I can assure you.
Well, we come and speak to us, and we'll help you get to where you want to get to, whether that be orange, green or teal. But let's think a little bit about what teal is from a practical point of view. Teal contends, Derek, that purpose more than profitability, growth or market share should be the guiding principle for driving our business. The teal thinking as well says that to empower someone, you have to give power away. It means that there's a wise person sitting who is empowering. Teal says nobody needs to be empowered in a teal organisation, because they look to design an organisation where every single person is powerful and no one is powerless. Think about that for a second, right?
An organisation of self-leaders, George.
There you go, Derek.
Wow.
And one of the things they do is they invest heavily in kind of regional coaching and stuff. They do a lot of training for the teams up front, Derek, to make sure they can work and self-lead and they can operate in this environment. And they have some coaches, but the coaches are not allowed to interfere, make decisions, overrule decisions. It's all about the team does everything. So let's have a look at what they do. The first breakthrough of teal is self-management or self-leaders, Derek.
You mean like empowering people to work from home, George?
No, they don't. No, it's not empowering people, Derek, because teal says we don't need to empower people because there is no power to give away. Everyone is powerful. So it's slightly different, buddy. They contend as well that the learning and development are vastly accelerated because we share knowledge and information in a teal organisation. There's no egos to satisfy. No, if somebody wants to understand some knowledge or get educated in something, they share it with them openly, willingly, enthusiastically to anyone who's interested. They work on a peer-to-peer relationship. And teal believes that when trust replaces fear, Derek, we don't have any need for a hierarchical pyramid, right?
So like trusting people to work from home, George?
Trusting people to work from home could be one, Derek, yes. But
I think that'll never happen.
Aye. But trusting...
It might have to happen for that to happen, unfortunately, George, like COVID-19.
Maybe it's happened, Derek, right? But maybe trusting people to bring the whole selves to work, right? So teal doesn't look to flatten the org structure, and it doesn't look to drill holes in it like Achievement Orange or Green. Teal flattens the whole thing, Derek. Teal says there is no managers. So all these teal organisations out there, they run without any managers. They run without the traditional departments we may think of, right? The teams decide on who to hire, who to fire. The teams cover their own absenteeism. They do their own planning. They set and decide their own pay rises, etc., etc., etc. There is no oversight. Now, this for me is where teal can get into a little bit of trouble. And there's been a couple of instances with zero oversight where people have done things they really shouldn't have, and it's resulted in a couple of companies moving from teal and going back again to the green, pluralistic green, Derek, whilst they figure out how to make teal work. It's like any of these paradigms, they've all got their good points and they've all got weaknesses that we need to think about. So that was the first breakthrough, self-managing teams. And the second breakthrough, and this is massive for teal, it's wholeness, Derek. So teal organisations contend that when people come into work, we ask them to check themselves at the door and just bring that slim professional selves into the workplace. And it's true. And I've seen it 100 times. And we do it all the time, you know. They're only operators. They cannot have much to give us. Just go and do your job. But, you know, teal says, no. We want people to show up with everything that they are. We don't want you to hide any aspect of your personality. They've developed a set of practices, Derek, which have invited people to bring all of who they are to work. And a lot of it is driven by, there's an annual poll goes on, folks, with Tower Watson. It takes place every year. It's 32,000 workers in 29 different countries, and they measure employee engagement. And every year it comes out around about the same. 35% or 1/3 of the people in the workplace are engaged. 43% are actively disengaged or detached, and 22% feel unsupported. And teal is tapping into that, Derek, to say that, you know, even all these things we've done in the workplace, still the majority of people do not feel engaged or supported in the workplace. And teal looks to resolve that. Teal contends that many of today's ills and orgs are traced back to fearful egos, politics, bureaucratic rules, so on. We've all seen it, right? And they look to wipe out all of that. And the third breakthrough for teal was purpose, Derek. So evolution of the purpose, and this is a key point, folks. I want you to listen to this intently. Instead of predict and control, instead of command and control from amber, predict and control from orange, teal asks its organisation to listen in and understand where the organisation wants to go. What does the organisation want to become, and what purpose does the organisation want to serve? I'll just leave you thinking about that. If you think that's a huge thing that's way too far out, I would give you meritocracy from Achievement Orange after a few thousand years. The other thing I'd say is that no organisation works entirely from only one paradigm. What you'll see in most organisations, they'll have a set paradigm, Derek, and they may borrow different things. So Achievement Orange may have some green practices, may still have some amber practices, and so on and so forth. And teal as well, still, you know, it's not that every person every day is behaving in this way, but they're striving towards it every day. If you look at the ultimate goal is not success for teal, but to become the truest expressions of ourselves, our authentic selves. They say if we can be our authentic selves, that success becomes a byproduct. So quickly, Derek, I'd like to look at where are we going to go, right? So, you know, I spoke earlier about millennials. 38% of the workforce is already made up of millennials and Gen Z. In the next decade, it will be 58%. If you think that's been a challenge, folks, wait until Generation Alpha gets here. They started 2010, and Generation Alpha, they're the children of the millennials, right? But, you know, it's up to us to find a workplace that works for everyone, right? And millennials they come from a higher consciousness than we did when we started the workplace. And most millennials we speak about were actually referring to Gen Zs, Derek, right? But how can we as leaders design a workplace that works for everyone, right? And I speak a lot about how culture will eat strategy for breakfast. Well, I would contend that culture, married to organisational design, can do just about anything it wants. And I think that teal and B corporations are only just starting out, and it'll be really interesting to see where they go. One other place we're going, folks, we're going digital. If you don't understand how the digital world works just now, go and learn. Right now, it's important. Derek, you speak about managing from home. I just wondered if that's going to be this generation's challenge. My generation's challenge was to figure out how to learn to use computers, right? I wonder if the next generation's challenge is going to be how to work from home, how to work virtually, where we're using virtual meetings instead of face-to-face, flexible working. I even heard Nicola talking about a 4-day week yesterday, right? This crisis will cause people to examine what's important to them, Derek. What kind of companies they want to work for, what kind of jobs they want to be doing, what values are important. Look at nurses just now and how many people have applied to be nurses. But very importantly, it will also drive people to look at what kind of companies they want to do business with. And I'll leave you with a couple of things, Derek. So where are we going? I think we are going to a workplace where everyone is valued, where everyone can bring their self to work, their authentic self to work. We're not quite ready for it yet, but we are knocking on the door of it. We're at a shift change in human consciousness where we can be our authentic selves, where we can bring in humanized HR systems. And I know that's a hot topic for you and I, Derek. It's HR systems which work for everybody, which work for everyone in the organizations. I think where there's multiple stakeholders and it's not all about the bottom line, like pluralistic green has already taught us, self-managing teams for sure, but there will be some oversight. Where culture's not the bastion of the C-level team, Derek, but that everyone in the business is a custodian of that culture. And where we can take the masks off folk, right, where everyone's valued for who they are and what they bring, there's a greatness that we know, Derek, that's inside every single one of us. And when we unleash it and we get that right structure and we create that environment for people, can you just imagine what can be achieved? And I'm going to leave you with this saying, Derek, or quote from a gentleman called John Naisbitt. John Naisbitt is quite a famous futurist and technologist. I think he's in his 80s now. Wrote a really famous book called Megatrends. Predicted a lot of where the world is today. John Naisbitt says this: the most exciting breakthrough of the 21st centuries will not occur because of technology, but because of the expanding concept of what it means to be human. So thank you for listening to my rambling for 45 minutes there, and I hope that you found it interesting in terms of how we got to where we are today as an organisation, and that it really makes you think about what kind of organisation you're part of, what kind of organisation you're looking to build as a leader or as a business owner. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
George, absolutely fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And I think the best thing that everyone can do is to just look at their own organisations and their own leadership style and their own cultures. Yeah. And just say, well, where are we? And are we still in amber and orange? Are we bringing in some green? Have we got some teal in there? But George's point, just to re-emphasise it, if you want to go towards a green or a teal organisation, well, you're still looking at KPIs, etc. There's the benefits of them. Well, you still, use the benefits of the other systems. Yeah. You need to shift your paradigm so that you have a consciousness and a purpose towards your green or your teal organisation. So I encourage everyone to look at themselves, look at their organisations and see how they can start to evolve.